Hi, I'm Tim and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be talking about unmanaged switches, and you're probably thinking, oh, unmanaged switches, no good. Well, in this case they are, and they still have their uses today as well as managed switches. Now, unmanaged switches can be used in a number of different circumstances in, say, corporate environments, whereby you're extending your office network, so you probably don't have, for example, the cable runs to certain offices or departments, and you're not able to do cable runs. Then you could connect your unmanaged switch via one Ethernet cable, backlink into your managed switch, and then connect your devices in that room or office into the unmanaged switch, which then uplinks back into your corporate network, your main network. So they also have the uses. For example, if you're setting up your little home network and you're just starting out with setting up a home network or a home lab, then an unmanaged switch can still be used in those circumstances. So they can be very economical to purchase, which is one of the main reasons why, if you're just starting out, for cost reasons, you could purchase an unmanaged switch, whereby you're just having one main LAN and no other VLANs to start off with. So you could just purchase a unmanaged switch, and there's various options actually with unmanaged switches. They can be 10 gigabit, 2.5 gigabit and also 1 gigabit. So there are still uses for these unmanaged switches. Now, I'm going to be using probably an unmanaged switch as well to extend my network. So I have a main managed switch, which I will then probably create a VLAN on one of the ports, which will then uplink from the main switch to the unmanaged switch, where I can power PoE devices, so thus extending my PoE device capability. Now, if you don't have a managed switch, for example, that supports PoE, you can still use an unmanaged switch for those reasons. So you can have your unmanaged switch providing PoE to your devices and link it back to your main managed switch, and then create a VLAN for that. So there's still various options, multiple opportunities to use unmanaged switches in today's networking climate. So Grandstream have kindly sent me over a selection of 5 switches, and here there's 3 boxes. A couple of them are larger boxes, so I can't lift them all together obviously. So what I'll do is show you these unmanaged switches, the range of 5 which Grandstream have kindly sent me over to review, and show you what these unmanaged switches can do and what they can be used for. And if you're using unmanaged switches in your network today, then leave a comment down below what you're using your unmanaged switches for, and also put a suggestion down below for what reason you think an unmanaged switch might be used for in today's environment. So what we'll do is go through these boxes and take a look and see what these unmanaged switches are capable of and what they have available in them as far as port range and speeds and so on. So we'll get to that right now. So here we are with the first box, and as you can see, it's the usual Grandstream, fairly plain packaging with Grandstream written on the front there, on the top actually. There's a QR code to be scanned, and this on the back is the Grandstream, and this is a model GWN7700MP. Now, as far as the letters are concerned, so the suffix letters, if you're looking at Grandstream models, the 77 series are unmanaged switches, and the then end letters, so the suffix letters meaning M, so M is for multi-gigabit, so M means multi-gigabit, and P meaning PoE. So if you've got any model number with P after it, it means it's a PoE version, and M means it's multi-gigabit. So let's take a look in the box. And in the box we have a little booklet, so it's a quick installation guide which Grandstream always provide with their devices, which is very useful. They also provide the PoE brick, as you can see, and it's got a UK power plug on that. And also in the box we have the main thing, which is the unmanaged switch itself. Now this is a small compact switch, as you'll see. So at the front of the device we have 5 RJ45 ports, and all these 5 ports are 2.5 gigabit. So certainly you could make use of 2.5 gigabit with all 5 of these ports should you have 2.5 gigabit devices, for example for a NAS, for your PC, your desktop, or for example a laptop with an Ethernet port. And if they have 2.5 gigabit, then you could certainly make use of these 2.5 gigabit ports. So they're all 2.5 gigabit. And we also have on this model an SFP Plus port, and I'll just take the cover off that. So we have a little rubber cover which goes on the SFP Plus port with the small G logo on the front of it. So as you can see, it is an SFP Plus port as it states on the device, and this is a 10 gigabit SFP Plus port, so it will provide speeds up to 10 gigabit, which is great for providing high powered devices, because these, for example, high data bandwidth devices are 2.5 gigabit, so it's practically essential to have the SFP Plus port on there so that you get all your devices connected at the full 2.5 gigabit speed, and thus providing enough bandwidth for all the data to go through on that SFP Plus. Now, as you can see, I said that they're all 5 are 2.5 gigabit ports, and they also, for ports 1, 2, 3 and 4, provide PoE out. So they are PoE out ports as well as 2.5 gigabit. Now this is a very economical device, and if you're purchasing, for example, in the UK, this will be available for about £52, so that's £52 sterling here in the UK, which is very competitive for an unmanaged switch. And this will be ideal for someone extending their network where they require 2.5 gigabit and PoE, or for example if you're just starting out with your home network and you require 2.5 gigabit and PoE, then this will be an ideal model to purchase in that case. Now for the specs, as I said, we have 5 2.5 gigabit and 4 PoE out. Now for the ports 1, 2, 3 and 4, which provide PoE out, they supply PoE 802.3 AF and AT compliant, so that's PoE and PoE plus, and it can supply up to 30 watts on each port with a total PoE budget of 57 watts. Now the switching capacity for this is 45 gigabits per second, so it's got a high switching capacity. And the power adapter is external with the power brick, and that just plugs into the back, which supplies it with 53.5 volts. There's also the Kensington lock connector there, and also a grounding terminal there where you can ground it to earth should you so wish. The unit is very light. It's got a little bit of weight to it, but it's very light in the hand, and it weighs 0.8 kilograms. Now the unit measures 145 millimeters by 80 millimeters by 27 millimeters for the depth. So it's a nice compact unit. It can be mounted on a wall using the holes there. So you'd screw the fixings there and lock it in place. So it just clip in place on some screws onto the wall, or you can use the rubber feet which are already supplied on there to sit it on a desk. So this is a non-rack mount version. So it would just be either wall mounted or desktop mounted. So that's basically the GWN 7700 MP, and it's the PoE 2.5 gigabit switch with a 10 gigabit SFP Plus port there where you could insert your 10 gigabit SFP Plus module. So that's basically the Grandstream GWN 7700 MP switch. So now what we'll do is move on to the next one. Now in this second box we have the Grandstream GWN 7703 unmanaged switch, and this is a 24 port model. So let's take a look in the box and see what we get with this one. Again, they provide the quick installation guide as they do with all Grandstream switches. So for the future unboxings coming up next, I won't bother mentioning about this because it's supplied with every switch, so I'll put that to one side. So in the box we have a power cable, and it's not the power brick this time, but it's just the power cable, as this has an internal power supply in this model. So there we have the power cable. We also have rack mount ears with this one. So there's a set of rack mount ears, and that's a pair, so there's two in that package there. And we also have some rubber feet where you could mount it to a desk should you so wish, instead of rack mount. We also have in the little packet some screws, and these are for the rack mount ears. So taking the switch out of the box, I'll just move this box out of the way, and in the plastic bag we have the, as I said, GWN 7703. Now in the UK this is priced at around £64 sterling for this unmanaged switch, and as you can see it's a 24 port switch. So we have port 1 at the bottom, 2 at the top, and so on, alternative up to port 24. Now the LEDs for the statuses for each port are on the side. They're not actually on the ports here themselves. They are actually in 2 rows of LEDs, and these are dotted LEDs here. So they provide 2, 4, 6 and so on at the top, and then the bottom 1, 3, 5 going all the way to the end to 23, and 24 being at the top there. We also have a power status LED which is at the bottom left corner here, and at the back of this we have the standard 3-pin power cable connector. We have a hole there for a Kensington lock, and we also have an earth grounding terminal, as all these switches do. Looking at the front, this is also passively cooled, as the first one was, which I've just shown you. So they are both passively cooled, so silent in operation. Now this is only a gigabit switch, so they only provide 24 gigabit ports. However, in certain cases that's still not a problem, as you don't always need 2.5 gigabit. So there's 24 1 gigabit ports here on this switch. There's no SFP port on it, but you could certainly use this, for example, in a school environment or in a sub-office environment where you have a second office where you need more ports than what's provided in that location. Or you could use this, for example, if you're starting up with your home network. If you're starting up with your home network and just require 1 gigabit ports, then you get 24 with this. So it's also be used for that, and you could also use it, for example, for smart home devices, or for example a VLAN. So you could connect your main managed switch into an uplink in one of these ports and just have the VLAN going to all of these 24 ports to extend your network. So as I said, there's various use cases for all these switches. So this switch can have a total switching capacity of 48 gigabits per second, and it has the internal power supply, which is an 18 watt power supply, and the unit weighs 1.3 kilos. The dimensions for the unit is 280 millimeters wide by 180 millimeters back to front, and then the depth is 44 millimeters. So as I said, that's the GWN 7703 24 port unmanaged non-PoE switch. So it's a gigabit switch. So now what we'll do is take a look at the next one. Now here we are with the third one in my unmanaged switch video, and this one is the Grandstream GWN 7701PA. Now as I said, P means that it's a PoE switch. Now A means that all ports are PoE. So if it has an A at the end of the model number, so PA meaning A for all PoE ports. If it doesn't have an A at the end, it means that only some of the ports on the switches provide PoE. So let's take a look in the box and see what we get with this one. Again, we have the UK power lead, and it's not an external power supply, it has an internal power supply in this switch. So you just get the power cable with that. We also have, again, rack mount ears, so this can be rack mounted. We have the rubber feet, which can be put on the bottom of the switch, and also the screws for the rack mount ears. Moving on to the switch itself, and this is, as I said, the Grandstream GWN 7701PA. Now this is an 8-port switch. It's a gigabit switch, so all 8 ports are 1 gigabit. However, all 8 ports supply PoE out. Now this is a metal box, so it can be desk mounted or rack mounted, this one. It supplies, as I said, 8 1 gigabit ports, and they are PoE and PoE plus, meaning 802.3 AF and AT. Now this will supply up to 30 watts per port, with a total PoE budget, which is more than the others, of 145 watts. So this, for example, would be ideal to power your smart home devices or security cameras. So you could connect all your security cameras or smart home devices that require PoE into this switch, so that they're all on this single, their own switch. And what you could do is provide an uplink. So set, for example, one port on your managed switch to provide VLAN traffic for just your security or via smart home devices, and then uplink it into here, which means that all of these ports would be on that particular VLAN. They would only be connected via this uplink into the same VLAN. So this is rated at 150 watts with PoE included. So it can supply the PoE budget of 145 watts and then 5 watts for the actual switch itself. Now this weighs in a little more than the other 2 switches that I've shown you so far, and this weighs in at 1.5 kilos. Now the unit measures 280 millimeters across by 180 millimeters back to front, and then the depth is 44 millimeters from here to here. So that's the Grandstream GWN 7701PA switch. And also I should say that the switching capacity for this is 16 gigabits per second. So we'll put this to one side and then take a look at the 4th switch that Grandstream have sent me. Now just before we move on to this 4th switch, I should have said that the GWN 7701PA, which I've just shown you, is currently priced in the UK at around £61 sterling. So again, that's very economical for an unmanaged switch, and with 8 ports as well, and all of them being gigabit. So moving on, we have, for the 4th switch in this video, we have the GWN 7702P. So again, this is a PoE switch, but not all of the ports are PoE. So let's take a look in the box and see what we get with this one. Again, we have the UK power lead. This one has an internal power supply in it again. So we just get the power lead. We also get a set of rack mount ears, and we also get a little bag with the screws for the rack mount ears, and also some padded feet which you can put on the bottom of the switch, should that is you wish to mount it on a desk rather than rack mount it. Here we are with the Grandstream GWN 7702P. Now this switch has 16 gigabit ports, so they are 1 gigabit ports, so all of them, all 16 are 1 gigabit, and also we have PoE out for ports 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, so 8 ports are PoE out. Now this can supply PoE out of up to 30 watts for each port, with a total PoE budget of 138 watts for all 8 ports. Now, as I said, this can be desktop or rack mounted. It's a metal casing again, and the measurements for this are 280 millimeters wide by 180 millimeters from back to front, and also for the depth is 44 millimeters. So all 3 switches, what I've just shown you, including this one, have the same footprint, so the same measurements. So at the front we have the little power LED, and then we have the 16 status lights here. So they're not actually status lights on each of the actual ports where the connectors go in. So these are 1 gigabit RJ45 connectors, so we don't have the LEDs there on the actual connectors, but these are in 2 rows on the front of the device, so it's sometimes easy to see all these LEDs simply in one section here. So this is the Grandstream GWN 7702P, and it has a total switching capacity of 32 gigabits per second. The power supply internally is rated at 150 watts, and it can supply up to 30 watts per port on the PoE ports, so ports 1 through to 8, and then ports 9 to 16 are non-PoE ports. All these ports are 1 gigabit, and this one is priced in the UK currently at around £103 for this one, so it's £103 sterling for this GWN 7702P. So let's move on to the 5th and final switch in this video. Now here we have the 5th and final switch in this video, and this is the GWN 7706 model, and as you can see it's a lot bigger box and just a bit heavier as well. So we'll take a look inside the box. We have some polystyrene foam on the top. With it being a bigger switch, it needs a bit more protection with the weight of it. We have the booklet, as I've said before, and we have a power lead. Now this also has an internal power supply in it, so it's just providing with the power lead. We have a set of rack mount ears with screws, and we also have with this one a set of rubber feet which can be stuck on the bottom, so you can actually desk mount this, or you can actually rack mount it with the rack mount ears. And also in the plastic bag we have a short earthing cable which you can use to connect it to the back of the device and then earth it to a suitable point. Here we have the Grandstream GWN 7706, and this, as you can see, is a 48 port switch. So this is a 48 port switch. It's not PoE and it's not 2.5 gigabit. Now this supplies 48 1 gigabit ports, so they are all 48 are 1 gigabit RJ45 ports. At the far left side we have the status LEDs, so again these are in rows rather than being on the ports themselves. And then moving to the end at the right hand side we have 2 SFP ports, So these are SFP fibre ports. This switch can provide a total switching capacity of 100 gigabits per second. Yes, 100 gigabits per second on this one. And the unit, for as far as the weight is concerned, it weighs 2.8 kilos. And the dimensions for this is 440 millimeters from left to right, and then 200 millimeters from front to back, and then the depth is 44 millimeters. So this is the Grandstream GWN 7706 48 port gigabit switch. So there we have that one. So that's all 5 switches in this video that I've shown you. So it just goes to show that Grandstream are still marketing these devices, which means that there is a market for them out there. So if you need an unmanaged switch, take a look at Grandstream and see what they have to offer. Other than these models that I've shown you, there are other models in the series as well. So take a look and see what the GWN 77 series of unmanaged switches have and which you might need from Grandstream. Just to recap the prices for these again. So the first one, the GWN 7700MP, is currently priced in the UK at around £52. The GWN 7701PA is currently priced in the UK at around £61, and the GWN 7702P is priced at around £103, and the GWN 7703 is priced at around £64, and the GWN 7706, which I've just shown you now, which is the last one, is currently priced at around £177 here in the UK. So as I said, Grandstream have a market for these unmanaged switches, and they keep producing them, so there is a market out there for them. So if you need an unmanaged switch, for example, for your IoT devices or your security devices to extend your home network or business network, or even the school or enterprise or corporate network, then take a look at Grandstream and see what they have to offer. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you found it useful, and leave a comment below in the video and let me know what you would use an unmanaged switch for. And if you do have one already, then let me know what you're using it for. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.